left Muscle Shoals Sound in 1973, and Clayton Ivey left Fame as a studio musician, although he still played some sessions there at Muscle Shoals Sound, and we decided to form a record production company. And so got a little place out on Woodward Avenue and started speculating on singers that we could think maybe cut a hit record on, and we had some success. We didn't get big hit records, but one of the records we produced, some people at Motown heard. And so they wanted to sign us as exclusive record producers and songwriters, and we were absolutely thrilled. And we were the first white producers that had ever, signed with Motown. That was our first big business adventure, working for Motown. And of course, later we got to produce the Temptations, the Commodores, Supremes, Jerry Butler, Thelma Houston, and we'd go back and forth to California, which is where they were based in at the time. And we'd cut a lot of our tracks in Muscle Shoals or Atlanta, and then we'd fly out to California to do the vocals and maybe some of the overdubbing and so forth. And sometimes we flew the Muscle Shoals musicians that we used out to California to cut the tracks out there. So that was probably one of the most thrilling experiences I think I ever had, and I got to meet a lot of really cool people, and to be able to produce the artists that I loved, growing up with, that was quite a thrill. When we got out of the Motown deal, they gave us $25,000, and I looked at Clayton. I said, well, what are we going to do now? Are we going to go back and just be independent producers and use other people's studios? And so we decided, no, let's just build our own studio. I mean, there wasn't a whole lot of thought that went into it. And so we bought some property right out across from the Muscle Shoals Airport. And I was driving down Avalon Avenue, and I saw this big pipe. It was about 8 feet or 6 to 8 feet in diameter, and I guess it was for sewers, right? And so I got out of my car and got inside this pipe, and I thought, wow, I bet you'd get a lot of echo out of that. Back then, you didn't have any electronic echo or reverb. You had chambers that you would send the sound down into in speakers, and then you'd have microphones to pick it up. It was kind of like, how you go into a house that has it's empty, and you say something and it has this reverb effect, and it's kind of like being in the shower with those hard surfaces, how good you sound. So I had a fraternity brother whose father made gasoline tanks that you put underground for service stations. And I called him and I said, well, what's the biggest underground gasoline tank you've got? He said, well, we've got one that's 13,000 gallons. I said, well, how big is that? And he said, well, that's about 8 feet in diameter to about 17 feet long. And I said, well, could you blow out the ends so we'd have no parallel walls? You don't want parallel walls or it'll cancel out. You don't get as much reverberation. So anyway, we built that. We put it in the back of the studio, and we buried it underground, and we put a manhole in the top. And we put the speakers down in there, and we put 2 microphones, and the police came out, to check out the studio. It was this big building because they were curious. And so one of them took their revolver out and shot over the manhole that was open, right? And that thing echoed for 13 seconds. And I said, no, that's an echo chamber. So that was part of the sound I think we got, is we had a pretty unique underground echo chamber to blend in when we were doing our recordings.